Marc Lamont Hill shades Melyssa Ford for her attention-seeking hospital pic. That's right, Melyssa Ford last week or so decided to post a picture of her at the hospital seemingly getting some type of surgery. Well, it left a lot of people concerned about what may have happened, and none other than Marc Lamont Hill would poke fun at it during an episode of the Ian and Marc show. So what you see here is a picture of him at a hospital, and in it he says in the caption, this seems like a fake caption, "I really wish I could pod today, but I broke my back, both ankles and ovaries are flaring up. I have a really bad concussion, anxiety, and massive trauma. I don't think the JBP is a safe place to work. Pray for me, I'm suing." Now, he's also playing into this narrative out there that the fans believe, some fans do, that Melyssa Ford might be suing. And I must say, this whole episode of the Ian and Marc show was filled with innuendo, made a commentary on what may be happening.
You stated that this injury claim was a chance to get rich.
What are you doing with the scam?
You wearing a wire? It's not a scam. It's an opportunity.
Okay.
It's a chance to get rich.
And let's take a look at the other picture that Melyssa Ford posted in the hospital to compare and see that you can easily see why it might look like Marc Lamont Hill is shading Melyssa Ford, because you can look at this. It's almost an exact commentary on it. And there's even more commentary on whether this hospital pic, just to revisit the Melyssa Ford pic, was it a serious surgery? Was it an outpatient surgery? There are those saying that the wooden floors would indicate that, maybe this is a cosmetic surgery that is not as severe as something like a heart transplant or something like that. But there's also another caveat here. Is Marc Lamont Hill also poking fun at Imani? Because Imani also did the same exact thing during his bladder cancer diagnosis, where he was at the hospital with a picture. So maybe this whole commentary is a 22 skidoo that we didn't even see coming. It could be just a play on, the fan base. He's just trying to trick the fan base. And ultimately, I don't think Marc and Ian would allow this type of joke if it was really the case that Melyssa Ford was suing. I think if she really was suing, the probability is that they wouldn't even touch this. They would not allow it. But the fact remains that Melyssa Ford is not around a month and a week into her departure. And there's even weird things going on with Flip. So is Melyssa Ford and Flip tied together? But let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think Marc Lamont Hill would push the envelope this far? And do you think Ian Schwartzman would allow him to push the envelope this far? My guess is Ian is for the content, so I think he actually would poke fun at the situation. But I do think there would be kind of a pump your brakes if Melyssa Ford was indeed suing. And I gotta be honest, I don't see Melyssa Ford suing. Just because that's one of the things she's always said on the pod, like she's been in weird situations with men and she hasn't pursued other things. But then there's the whole side information of, look at how her time ended with Hollywood Unlocked. Remember, she just kind of slunked out. She kind of disappeared from the show. And then there was the whole Bravo Network thing. Remember when she was assaulted by someone and hinted towards having some level of litigation with Bravo? So maybe Melyssa Ford is a bit litigious. I don't know. That's all alleged. And we will have to see how things play out. And I'm questioning, if Melyssa Ford does come back, you would assume it would have to come at least at the start of fourth quarter. I still feel like when you're in September, you have to ramp up your podcast, especially for the top level dudes like Charlemagne and Joe Budden and the Flagrant 2, they want to get going by this time in the year. But the true essence of fourth quarter, the actual line, starts in October. So maybe that is when Melyssa Ford returns. And there's even somebody suggesting the theory that Flip's exit will almost coincide with Melyssa Ford's return, because Melyssa Ford wants nothing to do with Flip. She doesn't want to make any content with Flip. She doesn't want to make any contact with Flip. That's right. Melyssa Ford is like protected like Viper. Stand back. But let's see what happens. And I thought this episode of the Ian and Mark show was pretty good. I feel like the Ian and Mark show, I know a lot of people are going to accuse me of glazing. I think it remains one of the most unique things in the space. I feel like there's not many other platforms that are, I know Joe Budden podcast is a hip hop podcast to me. I know there's people saying that he transcends that, but for me, the birthplace is within the hip hop umbrella. And for a hip hop platform to have a written show that does improv, that's really unique. Like, you won't get that many other places. And I think this is a prestige project. Sure, it's not going to get the level of views of, let's say, improper improv, because that's one of the things that I think is a quiet storyline that's brewing. Some people have woken it up, is that Flip actually brings more views to the Joe Budden Network just with his antics. Like, improper improv, especially in the beginning, that used to get crazy views. Granted, there's the little stimulus that Joe Budden gives because he was on the show. But even the episodes without him, especially season 1, they did good views too. But you have Marc, on the other hand, who is a more higher brow of entertainment. Still, those views don't compare. But I do think that you invest in things that make the brand look stronger. And the fact that the Joe Budden podcast has somehow launched a skit show, and they're actually growing right before our eyes in terms of the editing, in terms of the mics that they use, the audio sounds official. And I gotta tell you, man, kudos. I think this is one of those things that maybe should win some type of an award for the way that they put this together. Oh my God, I can hear the comments. Danny, you glazing. How dare you glaze? But I'm telling you, if it was whack, I would say it. I would say, yo, the Ian and Mark show is trash. But the fact that they're able to put this together, sketch comedy isn't really that easy. It's not that easy to shoot. Go and try to shoot a skit with multiple people. That is one of the hardest things to do. You got to make sure you capture the sound. You got to make sure you edit things in a funny way. You got to make sure that you capture everyone's expressions, because in podcasting, you can kind of just film, make sure you do some switch angles. But here, when you're doing comedy, that's a little bit hard. But let me know. This is my video for now. Did Marc Lamont Hill shade Melyssa Ford with posting that hospital picture? Like I said, I think perhaps it was on the nose, and maybe he shouldn't have done it if it's a serious situation. I do think he probably hit Melyssa Ford up and said, yo, I'm about to make this joke, and she was probably cool with it, but still might be mad at it. Because even though it might actually be a subversive shot at Imani, you still have to factor in, like, it's gonna look like a shot at Melyssa Ford, and for Marc Lamont Hill to proceed forward with it indeed says something about his dark brain. Marc Lamont, oh my God, that guy, he's like the Hannibal Lecter of podcasting. You think he's sophisticated, you see him eating at the table, using the fancy forks, cutting at the right angle, but then you realize, yo, this man is eating a human heart. That's what he's doing. He is dark, he is maniacal, and he's said it multiple times on the podcast that he's just a jerk. There's a dark man in Marc Lamont Hill, and I think that dark Lamont Hill trope is indeed factual. It's buried in places he doesn't want to talk about. You need Marc on that wall. He needs to be on that wall. He goes crazy. But with that said, follow me on Instagram, The Stop TV. Follow me on Twitter, The Stop TV. Follow me on Patreon, The Stop TV. This is Danny from The Stop. Peace.